Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Yo to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans. Seems I'm waking up to good news most days these days as a Chargers fan. The new Jim Harbaugh-led team is off to a pretty good start. And you know what? The rumors are starting to flow in as to what Jim wants to do in order to build this team up for, let's say, multiple championship runs in the future, like he said in his press conference. I know that got a lot of us excited. But I think one of the first moves that's kind of coming to light in terms of roster construction has been the idea of Saquon Barkley joining the Bolts. Here we are again, Bolt fam. If this looks familiar, it's because I've already made this video. I made this a couple of years ago, back when we had the old logo about Saquon potentially joining the Los Angeles Chargers. And here we go again, man. It's an exciting time to be a Chargers fan because, honestly, Saquon to the Chargers was exciting back then. It's still equally as exciting now. And this could be one of those huge moves that turns the Chargers, let's say, run game from worst to first. And that seems to be the theme here if you're a Chargers fan. From worst to first in terms of head coach, running back. What else is left on the docket for Jim Harbaugh in the future of the Bolts? That's left to be seen. So in today's video, we're going to show you guys what's going on with the situation, why Saquon's being thrusted back into the limelight. Is Jim Harbaugh really gunning for him? It should be a very interesting one, and honestly very excited because, again, this is just the first of many, I would have to imagine, moves that'll help the Chargers and their offense in 2024. Now, before we do get started, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. We're going to get to this in a minute. This is where we heard the rumor. Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. Get in on the action, especially for the big game, the Super Bowl coming up. I think, what is it, the 11th this season? Get excited about that. Newcomers, get excited about this special offer for you guys out there. Let's have some fun in the chat. Before we do kick off, hit us up with the like and sub if you guys do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers, and more specifically, Jim Harbaugh, could be gunning for Saquon Barkley to the Chargers. Again, this is a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. But I think we can maybe add a little bit more volume, a little bit more validity to this particular rumor because of kind of the source it's coming from and what we're hearing in terms behind the scenes of what Jim Harbaugh wants to build with the team. So first off, I woke up to this, all right? ML Football, they got the check mark. I don't know how reliable the source is, but I noticed that they were quoting something. I was like, what are they quoting? And again, this was very early in the morning, doughy-eyed director waking up to, the music of the Harbaugh, a tune. Say, okay, what happened? What's going on today? I was expecting to maybe hear some coaching staff news, maybe something. But instead, I see the Saquon Barkley thing like sideswipe me, like a freight train. It says here that he wants to run the football and he wants to use those guys down the field with play action. I was like, cool, okay, but why does he want Saquon Barkley? He's at the top of the players that he wants to bring in. Well, it turns out this morning on Good Morning Football, Ryan Leaf, I get there may be some people that have an opinion on Ryan Leaf. I get it, but this man is on a redemption tour, okay? He's been on Good Morning Football a lot. Dude has turned over a new leaf. Whether or not you have an opinion about him as a Chargers fan, and he's been out there spreading the good word, okay? And in this recent interview, he talked about Jim Harbaugh and his desire to bring Saquon Barkley into the building. Now, at first, when I heard it, I was like, kind of feels like there's some speculation going on there. What's the source? What's the connection? Well, of course, as you're seeing here on the screen, Harbaugh and Ryan Leaf do go way back, of course, playing quarterback together with the San Diego Chargers back in the day. So these guys do know each other, and they do talk. Okay, he even mentioned that he kind of dropped a little hint to him that he was going to the Los Angeles Chargers beforehand in their conversations. So I would say, yeah, the connection between Leaf and Harbaugh is legitimate in my opinion, and I do believe that they've had some conversation. But the big thing that kind of grabbed my attention afterwards was, and again, I apologize to this man, Logan. Okay, I'm sorry. You got caught in the crossfire. All right, this isn't meant to aim at you for your comment. It's not. It's for what was to follow. Okay, so Logan came in here in one of my tweets or whatever and said this is taken out of context. Ryan Leaf was just randomly spouting off what he thinks Harbaugh would look for, which again, I kind of thought the same thing. Not an actual report that Harbaugh is eyeing Saquon. Okay, I kind of thought the same thing. Then here comes Ryan Leaf, the Ryan Leaf, on my Twitter, comes in and says, is it though? Is it just speculation? To which I say, oh snap. Okay, that's Ryan Leaf, and I think he just verified for us that we really are looking at Saquon Barkley, the player, and not just a good running back to fit this system. Okay, so based on that, I do think, and even if this wasn't the case, I do think Saquon would have still been on our radar anyway. If you guys watch my show on Bleacher Report, I did cover this, and specifically Saquon Barkley, like a week ago. Okay, and how I think the Chargers would be wise to go after a free agent running back because of what's available in the draft, money situation, yada, 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 but more specifically Jim Harbaugh and what he needs to build this team. We talked about this already, even without the speculation of Ryan Leaf and what was said on Good Morning Football this morning. Now, this has led a lot of Chargers fans to kind of stand up and ask about the situation and whether it's a good idea or not. There's a lot of people, of course, I understand, maybe against the idea. Not a lot of people like the money part of it. Not a lot of people like maybe the injury risk, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get into it, man. Now that we know Saquon Barkley could be the future running back of the Los Angeles Chargers, first off in the comments, does that get you excited? Does it get you worried? Are you about it? Are you not about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me tell you guys why I think this could happen, and maybe why, in my opinion, it should happen, okay? Another thing to kind of back things up here is that Saquon Barkley is likely leaving the New York Giants anyway. Okay, the New York Giants have a big, $12, $13 million question in front of them when it regards Saquon Barkley and his future with the team. Now, Saquon's going to want a big contract to come back. There's talk that they could maybe franchise tag him again, which again, that would equate to like $12 or $13 million. A second franchise tag you don't see very often because it's very, very expensive. And there have been reports recently about Saquon Barkley talking about his future and whether or not he'd be returning. He says, yeah, it's possible that I leave this offseason due to contract, money, whatever. Now you enter into the conversation this idea that Jim Harbaugh, new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, of which I've heard Saquon has a tremendous amount of respect for. As a matter of fact, I was watching All or Nothing with my wife the other day, and there was a game in 2017 in the season that they're covering that Saquon Barkley was their opponent, right? And I remember thinking, honestly, sorry, I'm not as doctrined in the college ball atmosphere, but I remember seeing 26 gun it, right? And I think he actually had a reception as well. And I looked at my wife and I was like, I think that's Saquon Barkley. And I could tell just by the way he runs because he was a beast. And then lo and behold, it was Saquon Barkley. I think it was with Wisconsin, right? Was the opponent at that point. Sorry, again, guys, if I have that wrong, completely sorry about that. But I thought to myself, okay, so obviously Jim Harbaugh, he's got exposure to all these players through college and stuff like that. But I thought it was kind of funny that just by the way the dude runs, I was able to recognize the player and exactly, just be impressed by what he had to offer. And I'm sure Jim Harbaugh was thinking the same thing on the sideline. And certainly through his recruiting days as well. This Saquon Barkley is an absolute unit, dude. And I think if you go further into the rabbit hole and think about, well, Jim Harbaugh and Saquon Barkley, is this the fit made in heaven? Is this a fit made in heaven for Justin Herbert as well? I do think it does further back up the claim that the Chargers are not just gunning for a running back, any running back, free agency, the NFL draft. They're going for one of the best ones. And I think Saquon Barkley is your surest bet out of all available running backs in terms of free agency and the NFL draft to make a huge impact right away. And I think it's a big part of the plan for Jim Harbaugh because of his philosophies and his run game. Jim emphasized, and this is something we heard in the press conference, Jim emphasizes the importance of the position of quarterback because he touches the ball the most on offense. Okay, guess who touches the ball the second most on offense? It's running back. And for the smartasses out there who want to point out the center position, there's the door. But outside of that, running back is a hugely important position that I think is getting lost in the shuffle because of, honestly, contract, negotiations not going the way they want, the value on the position. And there's validity behind that opinion, as running backs do tend to wither away a lot faster than any other position in football. That kind of sucks for them. I do have to be on the side of the running back. That sucks. And we saw Austin Eckler start a movement last season for better money in the league, and it kind of worked. It kind of didn't. But in the end, it doesn't devalue what running back does for a football team. I think Jim Harbaugh understands that. He understands that he wants to take, pressure off of the quarterback, become a more balanced team. And the run game is hugely important to his system and his scheme and his philosophies, and I think it's something that obviously he's going to be targeting this season anyway. He's emphasized how badly he wants to fix the run game. He's emphasized the kind of guys that he wants in there. Saquon Barkley fits the bill perfectly, all right? Now, that begs the question to a lot of people, well, is Saquon the guy? Is Saquon the right move? Is Saquon the investment of the future that the Chargers fans and the team want to see? I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah. I actually can't believe that I'm arguing for Saquon Barkley because, again, I get what the opinion and the perspective of running back looks like right now, but just, like, step away from all the drama and complications and maybe sometimes overthinking of the running back position and just speak the words out loud. Saquon Barkley to the Los Angeles Chargers. But that makes me super excited. I don't even have words for it. It's just, like, that's crazy to think about the kind of impact on offense that Saquon Barkley would provide. Now, I get it, okay? People want to draft a running back based on value. I'm all about that. I'm with you guys. If there was a running back, let's say second or third round, that I felt super strong about, which maybe there will be one that emerges. I'm still, in the process of looking at NFL draft prospects, et cetera, et cetera. If there was one that popped off the page for me, I think I would make that a priority in this season's draft. But this class doesn't pop off the page for me in terms of running back. And even if it did, I think we still have other positions that we have to take priority in. Tight end, offensive line, defensive line especially, I think is going under the radar. Wide receiver, there's a lot of other moves that we could make. The difference between those positions and running back is that we can't get an affordable offensive line or offensive lineman or an affordable like tight end that makes the same impact as a Saquon Barkley. Like, you think about that. What's the equivalent of tight end and Saquon Barkley? Right? Who's the tight end that can bring the same kind of value and the same kind of impact to a football team as a Saquon Barkley? And how much would that tight end be getting paid? Probably twice, maybe even more than Saquon Barkley would. A lot more. All right? And that's why you got to take value into perspective here. Not a bad idea to sign the best running back that Jim needs right now to revitalize this run game. One that's a surest bet, and again, a position that's not going to break the bank. And I don't think anyone's doubting Saquon's talents here. I really don't. I do believe their hangups are around, surrounding concerns. Value, the injury, et cetera, et cetera. So let's start with the injury, okay? A lot of people a little bit upset, or I should say worried about the red flags in Saquon's history. I get that. As Chargers fans, we should be worried about that, okay? And there's good reasons not to spend on running back the position to begin with. It's a risk. There is regression in the position faster than any other position, right? And in case of injury, I think it does kind of stack up. But there are outliers all the time, everywhere. It doesn't mean that Saquon isn't a risk. He is, but there are outliers. But you have to look at the risk-reward factor here, right? There is a risk element in terms of injury. There is a risk element in terms of regression. But the reward is just so darn good. I was trying to think of what Coach Harbaugh said. The reward is just so darn good with a Saquon Barkley. This is one of the best running backs in the entire league. And you know what? I think Ben Herbert gives us a much better shot at keeping Saquon Barkley healthy. We're about to get one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the world on the Chargers staff here pretty soon. That does lessen it a little bit for me, I'm not going to lie. But I think more for me in terms of the injury concern, the risk-reward is just too enticing in terms of what Saquon would bring to the team. Other people would say, let's not sign him. He's old. He's not old. He's 26 years old. But I think the other biggest thing that people talk about in terms of concerns for Saquon Barkley is going to be the money. I know there's a big stamp of disapproval behind paying a running back in terms of perspective of fans and coaches and everybody in the NFL. We're not paying the position of running back. Okay? The money a big concern for people. Now, like again, I said on my Bleacher Report episode last week, this is a big point, I think, in terms of that. In terms of value, running back provides the most bang for your buck on the football field right now. And yes, there's risks, but Saquon Barkley, let's say for $7 million, is going to provide much more for your team than other positions being paid the same amount, like way more. Okay? And it just so happens that running backs don't get paid all that much right now. Take a look at the running back market for the NFL right now. Okay, maybe a little bit hard to see here. I apologize. But taking a look on this list, right? Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley. What are we thinking these guys are going to get paid? Well, on the right side, you see kind of their average right now, 12 million, 11 million, 10 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But in reality, you're not going to be paying that. Let's take a look at some of the best free agent running backs the past couple of seasons and what they got paid, right? Miles Sanders, for whatever reason, got paid the big bucks. Where did he go? Carolina? That was a poo-poo move. Either way, he's getting paid $6.25 million a year on average. David Montgomery got paid $6. I think he was worth it to the Lions. Jamal Williams, $4. Samaje Perine. Dalvin Cook, an average of $7 million, right? He was maybe not worth it, but he was a huge name. $7 million isn't a lot of money. Certainly a lot less than 10 or 12 or 13, right? Maybe last year not the biggest name for free agents. I mean, you got Ezekiel Elliott down here for $3 million, right? Let's go back another year, 2022. Some of the big names out there that year, Leonard Fournette, which, yes, kind of was a big name back then. Maybe another red flag saying, hey, that didn't really work out. But again, $7 million. It wasn't like he was breaking the bank. Chase Edmonds with the 6, Cordell Patterson with the 5, J.D. McKissick. Again, tell us all the time, be careful because of the running back position. But at the same time, 5, 6, $7 million, you're not breaking the bank. You're not making a J.C. Jackson kind of risk with a running back in terms of money. And that's not even taking into account the way they structure these running backs contracts. It's ridiculous. If you want out, you're getting out. You're not going to have to pay too much about that. What about one more season? Let's go one more season deep. 2021. Who we got? Kenyon Drake. Look at this, man. $5.5 million. $5 million, $3 million, $2 million. Look at these prices for the premier running backs in free agency year after year after year. Now, yes, you can make an argument that this year's particular years of free agent running backs are some of the best that we've seen. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley. That only helps us, I think, in the end, because running back, it's going to be competitive. And we thought this last season, like, they're going to have to break the bank to get these running backs in. They didn't. As a matter of fact, it kind of kept everybody on the same playing field. And I think it's going to happen again this season. And I think running backs are going to move to new teams. They're going to be taking, I would say, reasonable contracts between like $5 and $7 million. Maybe even Saquon's worth $8. I don't know if I would be too upset about that. But I think, again, in terms of money and bang for your buck, the value you're getting on the field, $7 million is not that much to ask. There hasn't been a running back paid more than $7 million since 2020. I think, who was the running back in 2020 that got paid more than that? I think that was a bust, right? It was Melvin Gordon at $8 million. Either way, that's the most that we've seen in 4 years in terms of contract for a running back. I don't know if that's too big of a risk financially for me to say, hey, we might get one of the best running backs in the league for that. And mind you, if you guys are like, well, in terms of money, it would be wasted if he's a bust. Yes, maybe. But look at some of the positions that we're paying more potentially than a Saquon Barkley, more than what we would be. If let's say we get Saquon Barkley for $7 million, who are we paying more? Are they going to make the same kind of impact at $7 million? Gerald Everett, $8.25. I think he would make a bigger impact than Gerald Everett. As good as Gerald Everett has been, I think Saquon Barkley would be vastly better. Austin Eckler, who he paid $7.75 last year, I think Saquon would be better. Michael Davis at $9.3. I think Saquon would be better. Austin Johnson. And then you take a look at some of the guys we'd be paying this year, right? Let's go ahead and update that. Eric Kendricks, $9 million. Trey Pipkins. It just feels like, in terms of value, $7 million isn't a lot to ask with how big of an impact that he would make with the team. And I think there's one team in recent history that really understood the environment of running backs and took advantage of it in the last couple of seasons. But they still had to pay up the nose, but I think it was still a very good investment. You guys guess who I'm talking about? This man right here, Christian McCaffrey. The Christian McCaffrey effect is what I want you guys to reference in your minds when thinking about bringing Saquon Barkley onto the Chargers, okay? You could argue this situation is very similar to Christian McCaffrey's when he was with the Carolina Panthers. A lot of people viewed him as injury-plagued, right? He had 3 straight seasons of derailment due to injury. It was devastating. Yeah, sure, he was still vastly viewed as one of the best running backs in the league, but I was one of those yahoos that drafted him back-to-back seasons in fantasy football and got bit in the butt twice. Never drafted him again, and then, of course, after that, he goes off. He starts having some career seasons, right? 3 straight years of injury concerns, and that's something that's a big holdup for Chargers fans. Well, San Francisco, despite that, said, I don't care. Here's a mess of picks. Give me the best running back in football. We're going to trade for him. And they paid up the nose to get Christian McCaffrey. Now, at this point, would anybody argue that was a bad move? Would anybody say that, the San Francisco 49ers, they messed up, man. They messed up trading for Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in football? I don't think anybody would say that. And truly, how far off is Saquon Barkley from Christian McCaffrey in terms of potential in the league? Best in the league. I don't think they're too far off. Yes, Christian McCaffrey is cemented as the best running back in the league, but Saquon Barkley? Come on, man. That dude's got to be up there. Now, even with Christian McCaffrey getting hurt last season, only playing 11 games, or I should say the season before, this was still a great move by San Francisco. So much so that you can credit Christian McCaffrey as a big reason they're going to the Super Bowl this year because of that move, because they valued the running back position. That was a great move by San Francisco. The Chargers have an opportunity to do the same right now. This last segment here called Get Your Stud, Jim. Get your stud. Now, all of a sudden, you've got another superstar running back who could be moved in Saquon Barkley. If you go back, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever, you would say the best running backs in the league are Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey. Both the other guys are on the move this season. The Chargers could be in play for Derrick Henry, by the way. I'm going to put that out there. That's a video for a different day. But I think Saquon now being on the official radar of Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, that's really exciting. Now, all of a sudden, we got a situation where Jim can go get his stud to fit his system and immediately fix this run game. Go get your stud, Jim. We got another guy that could be moved in Saquon Barkley, who, let's be honest, in the right situation could challenge Christian McCaffrey as the best running back in football. He's also been injured way less than CMC. You got to remember that. Yes, the injury concern is there, but he's been injured way less. Sure, 2020 was derailed by injury, right? He was looking like his third year. He's this monster rookie. Second year was even better. Third year, we all have high expectations. He gets injured. A lot of people slap that label on him right away. Oh, this dude's an injury-prone disaster, right? Especially when he came back his next year. They said, he'll never be the same. And yeah, he didn't have a great comeback year. He didn't. It was something like 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. He missed another 3 or 4 games. It wasn't great. But after that, man, he got the ship right. And since then, he's only missed, 5 or 6 games? Since 2021? We're going into 2024? CMC's missed way more games. And in that time that he's been on the field, for a majority of those games, a vast majority of those games, he has still managed to be a monster since 2022. Right? Missed 3 games. But we'll say last season, right? Last season, he missed 3 games in a garbage offense without Danny Dimes, who wasn't great anyways. He still eclipsed 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. He was the center of that offense. 2022 is probably the season that gets me most excited about potentially adding him. He exploded for 1,650 yards, 10 scores. Unbelievable year. And again, heralded back to his huge leap into the NFL, his rookie and follow-up seasons in the NFL. Absolutely insane. In reality, like I said, only 2 bad years. One was the season lost to injury in 2020. The other was in 2021. But outside of that, he's been nothing short of elite. And I can see exactly why Harbaugh wants him at the center of his running attack. We need a guy like this, man. And sure, you could maybe take another chance in the NFL draft. Not my best class. I should say not my favorite class going after it. Maybe Jim knows something we don't. He's been in the environment longer. But I think the surest bet out of all the names available at running back this season is Saquon Barkley. You could argue Derrick Henry, sure. Derrick a little longer in the tooth. Maybe same injury concerns. But maybe doesn't fit the offense that Jim wants. Yeah, of course. You want to see that thumper in there. But Saquon's just a very complete running back. He fits the mold of every system. And I feel like Saquon would be huge. He'd be worth a big move like Christian McCaffrey to the Niners. That is a franchise-altering move. We've seen it happen recently with CMC. The biggest difference here, mind you, is the Chargers would not need to trade, what was it, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth to go get Saquon Barkley. That's what it cost the Niners to go get CMC. The Chargers can make a similar move for free in free agency. Sure, the money's going to be there, but even if you're paying him $7-8 million, what kind of impact is it going to give you in comparison to the other $7-8 million guys on the team? Will he be better than Eric? Will he be better than Trey? Will he make up for some of the shortcomings of the offensive line? I sure as heck think he will. So Saquon Barkley worth it? Absolutely. In my opinion, There's few guys that you go out there and say, the injuries maybe scare me a little bit. Money situations, maybe not ideal, but he's that good. What would coach say? The reward is just so darn good, right? The risk reward is there. It makes sense. And for a guy like Jim Harbaugh that wants to go from worst to first, revitalize this offense, bring back the running attack, take pressure off his quarterback, bring that balanced feeling, that balanced system to the Chargers, I think Saquon Barkley would be a fantastic start. So yes, I think there is very, very valid reason to think that some of the stuff that we were reading this morning about Harbaugh going after Saquon Barkley, words from Ryan Leaf, the backing up of those words by Ryan Leaf on Twitter, which we've already clicked off of, it holds water to me. So keep that in mind. That'll be something that we monitor closely. Could be another one of those things this season, because in the Jim Harbaugh narrative so far, it's been, we're speculating something awesome, but we're holding our expectations down. We're tempering them a little bit because we're Chargers fans. But in the end, it happens, right? It happened with Jim Harbaugh. We get all excited about Jesse Minter. I don't know if it's going to happen. It happened with Jesse Minter. We get all reserved about Ben Herbert. Oh, it's not going to happen. Michigan's going to keep him. We get Ben Herbert, right? Who knows what's in the future in terms of roster construction here, folks? Joe Ortiz is one heck of a GM, at least potentially. I think he's going to have a great first season with the Chargers. I think he's going to get to work on that cap. I think we're going to be I think a lot of people are overblowing it. I think there's been several articles posted by guys like The Athletic and ESPN as to how the Chargers can easily get under the cap, even create a lot of space for themselves over the next couple of seasons if they wanted to. But in the end, you got to do what you got to do. If you need a running attack, if you need an offense that takes pressure off for Justin Herbert, go get Saquon Barkley. One of the best things you could possibly do. And Jim doesn't do anything small, man. Jim's going big. He'll always go big. That's one very exciting aspect of the brand new age Los Angeles Chargers behind Jim Harbaugh. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree. Again, I'm not going to hate you for having a different opinion than I do. A lot of people are going to hate the idea of Saquon. It is what it is, and it's fine. We're all football fans here, supporting the same dream of the Los Angeles Chargers to the Super Bowl one day. If you guys see a different path to that, more power to you. But my personal opinion is that the Chargers would be very wise to get the very best running back available, who will make up for a lot of the shortcomings of the offensive line while we continue to build that over the next couple of years, to get this offense right away. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty, and let's go get our guy, Jim.